My parents slammed the door in my face on Thanksgiving and told me to go home. I'm Diana Mitchell, 32 years old, and this is how my family's cruelty became their biggest regret. What you're about to hear isn't just about family rejection, it's about how one phone call turned their celebration into panic, and how the daughter they called a failure held the keys to their entire future. If you're watching this, please subscribe and let me know where you're watching from. It started when I pulled into my parents' driveway at 6 p.m., carrying the pumpkin pie I'd baked from scratch. Mom's favorite recipe, the one she taught me when I was 12. You need to understand something about my place in the Mitchell family. I've always been the disappointing daughter. Not because I'd done anything wrong. I'd never been arrested, never done drugs, never even gotten a speeding ticket. My crime? Being 32, single, and working as an accountant. Such a boring job, Mom would say at every family gathering, her voice dripping with disappointment. Numbers all day. Where's the passion, Diana? Meanwhile, my younger sister, Sarah, she was the golden child. Married at 25 to a dentist, 2 beautiful kids by 29, living in a 4-bedroom colonial just 3 miles from our parents. She'd post pictures of her perfect family on Facebook, and within minutes, Mom would share them with captions like, "So blessed with my beautiful grandchildren." Every family dinner followed the same script. While Sarah showed off baby photos and talked about her PTA presidency, Mom would turn to me with that look. You know the one. That mixture of pity and frustration that only mothers can perfect. "When will you give us real news, Diana?" she'd ask, as if my promotion to senior accountant meant nothing. As if the fact that I'd just paid off my student loans at 30, 2 years early, was worthless compared to a wedding ring. Dad was no better. He'd talk about Sarah's husband like he was the son he never had, discussing golf scores and investment strategies, while barely acknowledging my presence. When I tried to join their conversations about the market, "I'm an accountant, I know finance," he'd pat my hand and say, "This is a bit complex for you, sweetheart." Complex. For the woman who'd been balancing his company's books for free every quarter. The truth was, I'd been holding this family together in ways they refused to see. When Dad's small manufacturing company hit rough waters 2 years ago, who do you think spent her weekends restructuring his debt? When Mom needed surgery and the insurance paperwork became overwhelming, who navigated that nightmare? Me, always me. But Sarah? Sarah sent a get-well card from Florida where she was vacationing, and Mom acted like she'd donated a kidney. "So thoughtful of her to think of me during her family time," Mom had gushed from her hospital bed, while I sat there with dark circles under my eyes from 3 nights of sleeping in that uncomfortable chair. I'd even helped my uncle restructure his restaurant's finances last year, saving him from bankruptcy. At his anniversary party, he thanked his amazing financial advisor, without mentioning that advisor was his niece who'd worked for free. The pattern was always the same. Diana does the work. Sarah gets the credit for existing. Diana pays for Dad's birthday dinner. Sarah gets praised for the handmade card her kids scribbled. I balance their books for free, restructure their entire accounting system, but Sarah sending a photo from Disney World was so thoughtful. I kept telling myself it would change, that one day they'd see me, really see me. Not as the single daughter who chose spreadsheets over babies, but as Diana, the one who'd never let them down, even when they constantly let me down. That's why I was driving to their house that Thanksgiving evening, pumpkin pie still warm on the passenger seat. Because despite everything, I had news that would change how they saw me, or so I thought. 3 days before Thanksgiving, I'd received the email that should have changed everything. After 5 years of proving myself, of being the first one in the office and the last to leave, I'd been promoted. Not just to senior accountant or department head, I was the new Chief Financial Officer of Morrison Industries. CFO. At 32. Morrison Industries wasn't just any company, it was one of the largest manufacturing contractors in the state, handling deals worth hundreds of millions, and they'd chosen me to oversee it all. I'd actually cried in my office when the CEO shook my hand. Happy tears, the kind I hadn't shed in years. Finally, I thought, I had something my family couldn't dismiss. This wasn't a boring numbers job. This was power, respect, the kind of position that gets featured in business magazines. I spent 3 days preparing for Thanksgiving like it was a presentation to the board. I made Mom's pumpkin pie from scratch, not the store-bought one I usually grabbed. I bought a new dress, elegant, but not too formal, in the deep purple Mom always said brought out my eyes. I even practiced how I'd tell them, keeping it humble but clear about what this meant. I have some news, I'd planned to say over dessert. I've been promoted to CFO of Morrison Industries. I imagined Dad's eyes widening, finally seeing me as more than his disappointing older daughter. I pictured Mom calling her friends, for once bragging about me instead of apologizing for my life choices. Maybe Sarah would even ask for career advice. I had news that would change everything. Or so I thought. God, I was so naive. As I sat in my car outside their house, pie cooling beside me, I knew this was it. My last chance. If I walked away tonight without sharing my news, without fighting for my place at that table, I'd disappear from this family completely. I don't mean dramatically, they wouldn't disown me officially, but I'd become the ghost at the edges of family photos, the plus one who might or might not show up, the aunt the kids barely knew. Aunt Diana? Oh, she's around, busy with work, you know. My name would become a footnote in family stories. Sarah's children would grow up knowing every detail about their mother's childhood, but nothing about mine. Family vacations would be planned without considering my schedule. Holiday traditions would evolve without me. But worse than being forgotten by them? I'd lose myself. I'd become exactly what they thought I was, a workaholic spinster who chose spreadsheets over family, not because it was true, but because I'd stopped fighting for it to be otherwise. I'd stopped trying to prove I could be successful and be part of this family. I'd just stop. The warm light from their dining room window mocked me. I could see shadows moving inside, heard laughter floating through the November air. They were all there, the family that was supposed to love me unconditionally, gathering for gratitude while I sat outside like a stranger. My phone buzzed. A text from my assistant about Monday's board meeting, the real world, where I mattered, where my decisions affected hundreds of employees and millions in revenue. If I drove away now, that would be my only world. I couldn't let that happen. Not yet. I turned off the engine and sat in the sudden silence, watching my family through the window like a scene from someone else's life. Sarah was there, of course, her perfect blonde highlights catching the light as she threw her head back, laughing. Her husband Mark beside her, Dad's hand on his shoulder in that proud way he'd never placed it on mine. Mom bustled past the window carrying what looked like her famous green bean casserole, the one she only made for complete family gatherings. My Aunt Linda was there too, and Uncle Pete, and… Wait, was that Michelle? My stomach dropped. Michelle Rodriguez, my college roommate, my former best friend who I'd introduced to the family years ago. She was sitting at my place at the table, right between Mom and Sarah, wearing the burgundy sweater I'd complimented her on last month. When had they even gotten her number? How long had this been planned? The laughter got louder, and I saw Dad raising his wine glass in some kind of toast. Everyone clinked glasses, even Michelle, comfortable in my spot like she'd always belonged there. My hands trembled as I smoothed down my purple dress, the one Mom loved. I grabbed the pie, still slightly warm, the crust I'd crimped so carefully starting to look less perfect in the porch light. The weight of it felt symbolic somehow, all that effort for people who'd already replaced me at the table. But I had something they didn't know about, something that would change everything. I took a deep breath, walked up the familiar stone path I'd skipped along as a child, and rang the doorbell. The laughter stopped. Then I heard footsteps. The door opened, and there stood my father. His expression went from curious to cold in less than a second, like someone had flipped a switch. He didn't even look at the pie in my hands. "Diana!" Not sweetheart, not honey, just my name, flat and unwelcoming. What are you doing here? It's Thanksgiving, Dad. I'm here for dinner. I tried to keep my voice light, holding up the pie like a peace offering. I made Mom's recipe. He actually stepped forward and pulled the door closer behind him, blocking my view of the hallway. You weren't invited this year. The words hit me like physical blows. What do you mean I wasn't invited? I'm your daughter. We need a drama-free holiday for once. His voice was matter-of-fact, like he was explaining why I couldn't borrow the car. Drama-free. I almost laughed at the absurdity. I'm holding a pie, Dad. What drama could I possibly— You know what you are, Diana. He cut me off, his voice dropping lower. Sarah needs a peaceful holiday with her family. The kids don't need to see this. See what? Their aunt? Their single, bitter aunt, who makes everyone uncomfortable with her career talk and judgmental looks. Judgmental looks? I stood there in my purple dress, holding a homemade pie, having driven 40 minutes to be with my family, and I was the problem? Dad, please, it's Thanksgiving, just let me— Go home, Diana. He started to close the door. This is for the best. Behind him, I heard Mom's voice calling out, Who is it, honey? No one important, he called back, his eyes never leaving mine. Just someone leaving. Mom appeared behind Dad before he could close the door completely. She was wearing her good pearl necklace, the one she saved for special occasions. Her face showed no surprise at seeing me. This was planned. Diana, honey, she said, but there was no warmth in the endearment. You should go. Mom, it's Thanksgiving. I made your pie, the one you taught me when— The family needs space this year. She said family like it was a club I wasn't part of. Real family time. That's when I saw them all through the doorway. Sarah was standing in the hall now, wine glass in hand, watching the scene unfold like it was dinner theater. Mark beside her, smirking. And Michelle, God, Michelle, my college roommate, the one I'd helped through her divorce last year, standing there in my spot, avoiding my eyes. Michelle? My voice cracked. You invited Michelle but not me? Sarah actually laughed. A short, cruel sound. Michelle's fun, Diana. She doesn't make everything about work and success and making us feel bad about our choices. I don't— You do, Mom interrupted. Every time you visit, it's CFO this and promotion that. Some of us chose family over career, Diana. Some of us have different priorities. The irony was so thick I could choke on it. They didn't even know about my promotion yet, and they were already punishing me for it. Uncle Pete appeared behind Sarah, raising his beer. Is that Diana? Hey, kiddo, better luck next year. Better luck, like being part of this family was a lottery I'd lost. Dad started pushing the door closed. Go home, Diana. Don't make this harder than it needs to be. I stood frozen as the door slowly closed, but not before I heard the worst part. Sarah called out, loud enough for me to hear. Michelle, come back. We're about to serve your amazing stuffing. My stuffing recipe. The one I'd perfected over years. The one I'd taught Michelle during Thanksgiving at my apartment when her family lived too far away. She'd made my stuffing for my family. Sarah's friends bring joy, Mom added, still standing in the doorway. You bring spreadsheets and silence and judgment. We're tired of feeling like failures in our own home. Every success you mention is a reminder of what we're not, Dad said quietly. Sarah makes us feel good about ourselves. You don't. Michelle finally looked at me then, just for a second, and mouthed, I'm sorry, before turning away. She was wearing jewelry I recognized, the earrings I'd given her for her birthday, at my family's table, in my seat. The door was almost closed when I heard my 5-year-old nephew ask, Who's at the door, Grandpa? No one, buddy, Dad replied. Just someone who got the wrong house. Wrong house. The house where I'd grown up, where my height marks were still penciled on the kitchen doorframe, where my childhood room had been turned into Mom's craft space without asking me. Drive safe, Dad said, as if he was dismissing a delivery driver. Maybe next year will be different. Then the door clicked shut. I heard the lock turn. An unnecessary cruelty, that sound. Through the frosted glass, I watched their shadows move away, back to the warm light, back to their complete family dinner. I stood there holding the pie, November wind cutting through my purple dress. Can you imagine being rejected by your own family on Thanksgiving, while your best friend takes your place at the table? If this story resonates with you, or if you've ever felt like the black sheep of your family, please hit that like button. Your support means everything, and it helps other people who've been through similar experiences find this story. Now let me tell you what happened when I got back to my car, because that's when everything changed. I walked back to my car in a daze, my heels clicking against the driveway I'd learned to ride my bike on. The pie went on the passenger seat, mocking me with its perfect crimped edges and golden crust. All that effort for people who'd locked me out. My phone buzzed. Through my tears, I saw an email notification from James Morrison, CEO of Morrison Industries. The subject line: Mitchell Manufacturing Contract Review, Urgent. Mitchell Manufacturing, Dad's company. I wiped my eyes and opened the email. Diana, congratulations again on your CFO appointment. I need you to review the Mitchell Manufacturing contract before Monday's board meeting. This is a significant deal for both parties. Your expertise will be crucial in finalizing terms. I stared at the screen. Mitchell Manufacturing. My father's company that he'd built from nothing, that he talked about constantly at every family dinner I'd attended. The company that had been struggling for 2 years. Another email popped up, this one from my assistant Kevin. Attached are the Mitchell files. Interesting note, Robert Mitchell specifically requested to work with Morrison Industries. Says it's his company's best chance for recovery. Robert Mitchell. My father who'd just called me no one important. I opened the attachment, scrolling through the contract details. The numbers made me sit up straighter. This wasn't just a deal, it was a lifeline. Dad's company needed this contract to survive. Without it, he'd be bankrupt within 6 months. And every single term, every approval, every signature would go through me. The new CFO of Morrison Industries. The daughter he'd just slammed a door on. I looked back at the house, warm light spilling from the windows, and felt something shift inside me. I sat in my car, laptop now open on my lap, diving deeper into the contract details. The more I read, the more the irony struck me. For 2 years, Dad had been talking about landing a major manufacturing contract that would save his business. He'd mentioned it at every family gathering I'd attended, always vague about the details, always dismissive when I offered to help review the terms. "This is big league stuff, Diana," he'd said last Christmas. "Corporate-level negotiations, not really your department." Not my department. I almost laughed, but it came out as something between a sob and a snort. Morrison Industries, the company whose entire financial department was now literally my department. The contract terms were problematic. Dad was so desperate for this deal that he'd agreed to conditions that would hurt him long-term. Penalty clauses that were too strict. Payment terms that favored Morrison Industries heavily. No flexibility for market changes. He'd been so eager to impress, so desperate to save his company, that he'd essentially agreed to terms that would make him profitable but dependent. Surviving, but never thriving. It was exactly the kind of contract I'd have flagged immediately. If he'd asked for my help. If he'd thought his accountant daughter was worth consulting. My phone rang. Kevin, my assistant. "Diana, sorry to bother you on Thanksgiving, but I saw you accessed the Mitchell file. Just wanted to make sure you saw the note on page 47. Robert Mitchell specifically requested an expedited signing. He wants this done by Monday." Monday. 3 days away. "Thanks, Kevin. I saw it. Do you want me to prepare the standard approval?" I looked at the house again, heard faint laughter carrying on the wind. "Not yet. I need to review everything first." I sat there in the dark car, my fingers hovering over my phone. I had 2 choices. I could drive home, cry into a glass of wine, and approved Dad's contract Monday morning like the good, invisible daughter I'd always been. Let him have his victory, never knowing how close he'd come to disaster, never knowing who saved him. Or I could do my job, my actual job, the one that required me to protect Morrison Industries' interests while ensuring fair terms for our partners. The job that gave me the authority to reject, revise, or restructure any contract that crossed my desk. The CFO's job. I thought about Dad's face when he'd called me no one important, Mom saying I brought nothing but spreadsheets, Sarah laughing at my absence like it was a gift. They wanted me to be nothing? Fine. I'd be nothing. Nothing personal about this at all. I called Kevin back. Hi, Kevin. Yes, I know it's Thanksgiving. My voice was steady now, professional. I need you to do something. Of course. What do you need? Pull up the Mitchell manufacturing file. Full analysis. I want to see their financials for the last 5 years, every contract they've submitted, their credit history. Everything. Tonight? Tonight. Bill it as emergency overtime. I'll authorize it. There was a pause. Diana, is everything okay? It's business, Kevin. The contract has serious issues. Mitchell Manufacturing is either desperate or poorly advised. Either way, we need to protect our interests. Understood. I'll have it to you within the hour. I ended the call and started my car. As I drove away, I didn't look back at the warm house where my family was laughing without me. An hour later, I was home in my apartment, shoes kicked off, purple dress replaced with sweatpants, laptop open on my kitchen counter. The pumpkin pie sat abandoned on my table. I couldn't bring myself to throw it away, but I couldn't eat it either. Kevin had delivered. 5 years of Mitchell Manufacturing's financials spread across my screen. The story they told was worse than I'd imagined. Dad had been hemorrhaging money, taking out loans to cover loans, shuffling debt around like a shell game. He'd hidden it well at family dinners, still talking about expansion and growth, but the numbers didn't lie. Without the Morrison contract, he'd be filing for bankruptcy by February. But the contract terms he'd agreed to? They were predatory, not intentionally. Morrison Industries wasn't trying to destroy him. They'd just offered standard terms for a company in distress, and Dad had been too proud to negotiate properly. Too proud or too ignorant. Payment delays that would strain his cash flow. Penalty clauses that could trigger from normal business variations. Exclusive supplier agreements that would prevent him from taking other contracts. He'd essentially agreed to become a subsidiary without the protection that relationship would normally provide. I pulled up the contract modification interface. As CFO, I had the authority to flag this for review, to demand renegotiation, to protect both parties from a deal that would ultimately benefit no one. My fingers hesitated over the keyboard. One click and I could tank the deal entirely, make it disappear. Let Dad discover Monday morning that his salvation had evaporated. But that wasn't who I was. Even after everything, I wasn't cruel. I was, however, finally in a position to be heard. I began typing. Contract under CFO review. Terms require immediate renegotiation. I spent another 20 minutes documenting every issue with the contract, then called the legal department's emergency line. Patricia Winters answered. She was always on call for urgent matters, and she owed me a favor from when I'd helped her sort out a budget crisis last quarter. Patricia, it's Diana Mitchell. I need a contract frozen immediately. Diana? Congratulations on the CFO position. What's the emergency? Mitchell Manufacturing, contract scheduled for Monday signing. I'm flagging it for complete review. There was a pause. Mitchell? Isn't that? Yes, same last name. No relation that matters. The lie came easily. The terms are problematic. Borderline predatory. We need to restructure or we'll have a dependent contractor who can't deliver. That's serious. What do you need? Send a formal notice to Robert Mitchell immediately, tonight. Tell him the contract is under CFO review and he needs to attend a mandatory meeting Monday morning to discuss new terms. Tonight? It's Thanksgiving. He's the one who wanted expedited processing. He gets expedited review. Make sure the email is clear. This comes directly from the CFO's office. No negotiation without my approval. Understood. Anything specific I should mention? I thought about it. Yes. Tell him failure to attend the Monday meeting will result in automatic contract cancellation. And Patricia, CC the entire Mitchell Manufacturing Board on this. I want everyone to know. That's aggressive. It's business. Send it now, please, and forward me the confirmation when it's sent. I hung up and waited. 15 minutes later, the confirmation came through. Email sent to Robert Mitchell and 7 board members at 8:47 p.m., Thanksgiving night. I poured myself a glass of wine and sat back. My phone would ring soon. The only question was how long it would take. It took exactly 12 minutes. My phone exploded with notifications all at once, 5 missed calls from Dad, 3 from Mom, text messages in all caps, voicemails I didn't need to listen to yet. The 6th call, I answered. "What the hell did you do?" Dad's voice was so loud I had to hold the phone away from my ear. "I'm sorry, who is this?" I kept my tone professionally confused. "Don't play games with me, Diana. The contract. Morrison Industries. What did you do?" "I'm not sure what you're referring to. I don't handle family matters on holidays." I took a sip of wine. "Perhaps you have the wrong number." "I know it's you. The email says CFO Mitchell ordered the review." "CFO D. Mitchell," I corrected calmly. "And yes, I ordered a review of a problematic contract. Is there an issue with that, Mr. Mitchell?" The silence stretched for 10 seconds. I counted. You're the CFO of Morrison Industries?" "As of 3 days ago, yes. Is that relevant to your contract concerns?" I heard muffled voices in the background. Mom's panicked tones, Sarah's sharp questions. The party atmosphere had clearly shifted. "Diana, you can't. This is my company. This deal saves everything." Which is exactly why the terms need to be renegotiated. The current contract would destroy you within 18 months, but I'm sure you knew that when you signed it. What? You did read the full contract, didn't you? Have your lawyers review it? Or did you just see the dollar amount and sign? More silence. In the background, I heard Mom say, "Oh my God, Robert, what did you do?" "Diana, listen to me." Dad's voice had changed from anger to barely controlled panic. "You don't understand what this means. If this deal falls through..." "I understand perfectly." I pulled up his financials on my screen. "You're 3 months from bankruptcy without this contract. Your accounts receivable are a disaster. You've been juggling credit lines to make payroll. How do you..." "It's my job to know. I'm the chief financial officer. Your contract is my responsibility." "You can't be. You're an accountant. You do spreadsheets." "I do spreadsheets for a Fortune 500 company now, Dad. Your spreadsheets, specifically." I heard him sink into something. A chair, probably. The background noise grew louder. Sarah's voice. "What's happening?" "Mom." "Is it about the contract?" "Put me on speaker," I said. "I'm sure everyone wants to hear this." There was rustling, then suddenly the acoustic changed. I could hear the whole room. "Hi, everyone," I said calmly. "Happy Thanksgiving." "Diana?" That was Sarah, shocked. "What's going on?" "I'm doing my job, Sarah. Dad's company submitted a contract to Morrison Industries. As CFO, I'm reviewing it." "CFO?" Mom's voice was faint. "When? How?" "3 days ago. Funny how things work out. The job you all called boring, it led to running the financial division of one of the state's largest companies." "You're lying," Sarah again. "This is some sick revenge." "Check LinkedIn. Check Morrison Industries' website. Check the press release that went out Wednesday." I refreshed my email. "Oh, and Dad, your board members are responding to the notice. They seem concerned." The silence this time was complete. Even Michelle, I noticed, wasn't saying anything. The speakerphone crackled with chaos. Everyone talking at once, voices overlapping in panic and disbelief. "She can't do this." That was Uncle Pete. "The CFO of Morrison? Our Diana?" Aunt Linda, incredulous. "This is insane," Sarah's voice cut through. She's destroying Dad's company because we didn't invite her to dinner? I'm saving Dad's company, I corrected. The terms he agreed to would have bankrupted him. Didn't anyone review this contract, or did you all just assume the boring accountant's input wasn't needed? Diana, sweetheart, Mom started. Don't. My voice stayed level. I'm not your sweetheart. I'm the CFO your husband needs to impress if he wants this deal. I heard Michelle whisper, Oh my God, Diana, I'm so sorry. Michelle, you're at their table. Enjoy it. Dad's voice came back, stronger but shaking. What do you want? An apology? Fine. I'm sorry. We're sorry. Now fix this. I don't want anything personal. This is business. Monday morning, 9 a.m., Morrison Industries headquarters. Executive conference room. Bring your lawyers this time. Monday? That's in 3 days. You wanted expedited processing. You've got it. Sarah jumped in. Diana, you can't treat family like this. Family? I laughed, but there was no humor in it. Family doesn't slam doors in faces. Family doesn't call someone no one important to their grandchildren. The room went quiet again. Monday, 9 a.m., I repeated. Don't be late. Patricia Winters from Legal will send you the requirements tonight. Review them carefully. Dad's voice was different now, smaller. Diana, please, you're still my daughter. Your daughter is an accountant who brings spreadsheets and judgment, remember? The CFO of Morrison Industries, however, is willing to negotiate fair terms. Choose who you'd rather deal with. This is the moment everything shifted. My family, who just slammed the door in my face, suddenly realized I held the keys to their financial future. If you've ever had a moment where the tables completely turned on people who underestimated you, drop a comment below. I read every single one. And if you're not subscribed yet, please do so now. It really helps me share these important stories about standing up for yourself with dignity. Let me tell you what happened next. Because the real shock was still coming. Diana, wait! Dad's voice cracked with desperation. Let's talk about this, please. We are talking. Monday at 9. No, I mean really talk. As family. You don't understand what this contract means to me, to all of us. I've put everything into this deal. I know exactly what you put into it, including your house as collateral, apparently. Did Mom know about that? A gasp from Mom. You put up the house? Robert! I had to. It was the only way to secure the bridge loan until Morrison Industries signed a contract that would have bled you dry over 5 years, I finished. Dad, you agreed to exclusive supplier terms that prevent you from taking other contracts. You accepted payment delays that will destroy your cash flow. The penalty clauses alone could trigger from a single late shipment. I didn't. The lawyer said it was standard. What lawyers? Your golf buddy who does real estate closings? Silence. Dad, this is a $40 million contract with a Fortune 500 company, and you treated it like a handshake deal at the country club. Family doesn't do this to each other. His voice rose again. I agree completely, I said, looking at the abandoned pie on my table. Family doesn't slam doors on each other. Family doesn't exclude and humiliate each other. Family shows up for each other. That's different. Is it? You decided I wasn't worthy of your Thanksgiving table 2 hours ago. Now you want me to save your company? The universe has an interesting sense of timing. Sarah's voice cut in. So you're punishing all of us? The kids too? If Dad loses the company? I'm doing my job, Sarah, protecting both parties from a bad deal. That's what professionals do. Here's what's going to happen, I said, switching to my boardroom voice. You're going to come to my office Monday morning. You're going to bring real lawyers, corporate lawyers, not your golf buddy. We're going to review every line of this contract. And then, Dad's voice was small, then I'm going to present you with new terms, fair terms, terms that will actually save your company instead of slowly strangling it. You'd do that after tonight? I'm not doing it for you. I'm doing it because it's my job to ensure Morrison Industries has healthy, sustainable partners. A bankrupt supplier helps no one. I pulled up my preliminary revision notes. You'll keep your company, you'll make a profit, you'll be able to pay your employees and keep your house. But you'll do it under terms that make sense for both parties. What's the catch? Sarah demanded. There's always a catch with you. The catch is that he has to sit across from his disappointment daughter and accept help from someone whose judgment and expertise he dismissed 2 hours ago. The catch is admitting that maybe spreadsheets and boring accounting work actually matter. Mom's voice, tentative. Diana, we didn't mean. Yes, you did. You meant every word, and that's fine. But now you need something from the daughter who brings nothing but spreadsheets. Lucky for you, spreadsheets are exactly what Dad needs right now. This is humiliating, Sarah muttered. No, I said. Humiliating is standing on your parents' porch holding a homemade pie while your family laughs at your absence. This? This is business. I could hear Dad breathing heavily. Monday, 9 a.m. I'll be there. Good. Bring your financial records for the last 5 years. All of them. I heard the front door slam through the phone. Someone had run outside. Then Sarah's voice, more distant but still audible. She's gone. Her car's gone. They'd actually gone to look for me, as if I'd still be standing on their porch, waiting to be let in. Diana, Mom's voice was closer to the phone now, trembling. We didn't know. About your job, about any of it. If we'd known, you'd have invited me? Treated me with respect? Valued my presence at your table? I let that hang in the air. The only thing that's changed in the last hour is that you found out I have power. I'm the same person who rang your doorbell at 6 o'clock. That's not fair, Sarah protested. You should have told us. When? During the family dinners I wasn't invited to? The phone calls you never returned? The celebrations you forgot to include me in? Michelle's voice barely audible. Diana, I didn't know they weren't going to invite you. They said you were busy with work. And you believe them? You're sitting in my chair, Michelle. You made my stuffing recipe. You knew. The silence stretched out. I could picture them all standing around Dad's phone in the kitchen where I'd learned to cook, where my height marks were still on the doorframe, where my absence had been a relief just an hour ago. I need to go, I said finally. Patricia will send the meeting requirements within the hour. Oh, and Dad? Your board members are already responding to the notice. You might want to call them back before they panic completely. Diana, wait. See you Monday, Mr. Mitchell. Don't be late. I hung up and turned off my phone completely. The silence in my apartment was profound after all that chaos. The pie still sat on my table, perfect and untouched, a monument to effort that no one wanted. But I didn't feel sad anymore. I felt clear, like fog lifting off a mountain road, showing the path that had always been there. I opened my laptop and began working on the contract revision. Not because I had to. Patricia and the legal team could handle the basics. But because this was who I was. The one who fixed things. The one who saw problems and solved them. The one who did the work even when no one was watching. Especially when no one was watching. By midnight, I'd outlined new terms that would save Dad's company while protecting Morrison Industries. Payment schedules that matched his cash flow reality. Penalty clauses with reasonable buffers. The exclusive supplier agreement modified to allow him to take on smaller contracts. It was good work, clean, professional, fair. My phone, still off, sat silent on the counter. I knew if I turned it on, there would be dozens of messages. Apologies, probably. Panic, definitely. Maybe even genuine remorse. But none of that mattered tonight. I picked up the pie and walked to my neighbor's door. Mrs. Chen answered in her bathrobe, confused. Happy Thanksgiving, Mrs. Chen. I made an extra pie. Would you like it? Her face lit up. Diana, how thoughtful. My grandchildren will love this. Thoughtful. Such a simple word for such a simple gesture. But for Mrs. Chen, it felt genuine, real. I went back to my apartment, poured another glass of wine, and got back to work. My real family, the numbers that never lied, the spreadsheets that never judged, were waiting. By Monday morning, the entire business community knew something was happening at Mitchell Manufacturing. Dad hadn't been subtle in his panic. He'd called every board member, every investor, every business connection he had, trying to understand how his daughter had become CFO of Morrison Industries without him knowing. The calls had backfired spectacularly. "Robert, you didn't know your own daughter was CFO?" Tom Harrison, his biggest investor, had apparently asked. "The same daughter who's been doing your books for free? If you don't know your daughter's position, what else don't you know?" That was from Jack Murphy, his golf buddy and board member. The local business journal had even picked up the story. Mitchell Manufacturing faces contract review from Morrison Industries' newly appointed CFO. They hadn't connected the family relationship yet, but they would. These things always came out. I arrived at the office at 7 a.m., 2 hours before the meeting. My assistant Kevin was already there. Files prepared, conference room set up. "The Mitchell team is in the lobby," he informed me. "They've been here since 6:30. Let them wait. We start at 9. Your father, Mr. Mitchell, asked if he could speak with you privately before the meeting." "No. This is a professional negotiation. No private conversations." Kevin nodded, but I caught his curious look. He'd figured out the connection, of course. The same last name. The emergency Thanksgiving review. Dad's desperate calls to the office over the weekend that security had reported. "Kevin," I said quietly, "whatever you've figured out, I need you to keep it professional." "Of course, Diana. Though for what it's worth, making them wait is exactly what they deserve. Sometimes the universe sends you the exact ally you need." At exactly 9 a.m., I walked into the executive conference room. Dad was there with two lawyers I didn't recognize, actual corporate lawyers this time. He looked like he'd aged 5 years over the weekend. His lucky tie was crooked. "Gentlemen," I nodded, taking my seat at the head of the table. "Thank you for coming." Dad's eyes searched mine for something. Forgiveness, maybe? Or recognition of our relationship? He found neither. "Let's begin," I said, sliding the revised contracts across the table. Page 1, Section A. The original payment terms would have created an impossible cash flow situation for your client. For the next 2 hours, I walked them through every change. Professional, precise, detached. Dad's lawyers took notes frantically, occasionally exchanging impressed glances. These weren't punitive changes. They were improvements that would save the company while protecting Morrison Industries. "The exclusive supplier clause has been modified," I explained. "You can take contracts under $5 million without approval. This gives you flexibility while maintaining our priority status." "This is generous," one lawyer said carefully. "It's practical. A struggling supplier is a liability. These terms ensure stability for both parties." Dad finally spoke. "The penalty clauses, reduced by 60% with a grace period for market-based delays." I didn't look at him, keeping my eyes on the contract. Page 47 has the details. When we reached the final page, the room was quiet. The new contract would save Dad's company. More than that, it would let it grow. "These terms are more favorable than what we hoped for," the senior lawyer admitted. "Morrison Industries believes in sustainable partnerships," I replied. "Do you need time to review with your board?" Dad shook his head slowly. "No, we'll sign." The lawyers left to prepare the final documents, leaving Dad and me alone in the conference room. The city skyline stretched out behind me through floor-to-ceiling windows, a power position I'd chosen deliberately. "Diana," he started. "Mr. Mitchell," I corrected. "We're in my office." He flinched. "You saved my company." "I did my job." "No, you did more than that. These terms, they're better than I deserve, better than the company deserves." I finally looked at him directly. "Yes, they are." He shifted in his chair, this man who'd called me no one important 3 days ago. "You're brilliant at this, I had no idea you were this capable. I've been this capable for years, Dad. You just never bothered to look past your assumptions. I'm sorry about Thanksgiving, about everything. I leaned back in my chair. Are you sorry because I'm CFO? Or sorry because you hurt your daughter? His silence was answer enough. The contracts will be ready in an hour, I said, standing. Kevin will show you to the waiting area. Diana, please. Your mother wants to apologize. Sarah, too. We want to make this right. There's nothing to make right. You showed me exactly where I stand with you. I heard you loud and clear. That's not fair. Fair? I almost smiled. Was it fair when Mom said I brought nothing but spreadsheets? When you told my nephew I was no one? When Sarah laughed at my absence? He stood too, looking older than his 58 years. You're still my daughter. No, I said quietly. I'm the CFO of Morrison Industries. Your daughter wasn't invited to Thanksgiving, remember? I walked to the door, paused. Thank you for your business, Mr. Mitchell. The calls started immediately after Dad left with his signed contract. Mom, Sarah, Michelle, even relatives who hadn't spoken to me in years. I didn't answer any of them. 2 weeks later, Mom showed up at my office. Security called up for permission. There's a Linda Mitchell here to see you. Says she's your mother. Tell her she needs an appointment. My assistant can check my calendar. The Christmas invitation came by certified mail. They wanted proof I'd received it. Please come home for Christmas, Mom had written. We need our family complete. I sent back a professional response on Morrison Industries' letterhead. Thank you for the invitation. I'll need to check my schedule. My assistant will be in touch if I'm available. Sarah texted daily for a week. This is ridiculous. Stop punishing us. We said we're sorry. The kids miss you. The kids who'd been told I was no one. I didn't respond to the texts, but I did send Christmas gifts for my nephews. Educational savings bonds in their names, practical, financial, exactly what Aunt Diana would give. Michelle tried once, a long voicemail about how sorry she was, how she'd been told I wasn't coming, how she never meant to take my place. There was no place to take, I texted back. Enjoy the family you chose. The most surprising message came from Uncle Pete, through LinkedIn of all places. Heard you saved Robert's ass. Good for you, kid. He needed the wake-up call. 3 months later, at a business conference, Dad approached me during cocktail hour. We were both speakers, him on manufacturing resilience, me on strategic financial partnerships. My assistant will coordinate if there's business to discuss, I said, walking past him toward my actual colleagues. It's been a year now since that Thanksgiving. I spent this year's holiday in Cabo with my chosen family. 3 other female executives who understood that sometimes the family you're born into isn't the one that sees your worth. Dad's company is thriving under the new contract terms. I monitor it quarterly, professionally, like any other supplier. He sends grateful emails after each successful review. I have Kevin respond with standard confirmations. Mom still calls occasionally, leaving voicemails about family dinners I'm welcome to attend. The shift from not invited to welcome wasn't lost on me. Sarah sent a graduation announcement for her oldest. I sent a card with a check, nothing more. But here's what I learned. Setting boundaries isn't about punishment. It's about peace. I don't hate my family. I don't wish them ill. I actually hope they're happy. But I no longer need their approval, their recognition, or their love to know my worth. That desperate need for belonging that drove me to their door every holiday, despite their dismissiveness? Gone. The promotion to senior executive CFO came 6 months after the Mitchell contract. The board specifically cited my handling of complex supplier relationships as a factor. Dad probably doesn't know that his contract became a Harvard Business School case study on ethical negotiations. My chosen family celebrated with champagne and genuine pride. No backhanded compliments about being too career-focused. No suggestions that success meant less without a husband. Just pure, uncomplicated joy for my achievement. I learned that setting boundaries isn't cruel. It's necessary. that choosing yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. And that sometimes the best gift you can give yourself is the freedom to walk away from people who can't see your worth, even if those people are your family. Especially then. Thank you for listening to my story. If you've ever been the black sheep who proved everyone wrong, I'd love to hear your experience in the comments. What boundaries did you have to set with family? And remember, your worth isn't determined by anyone else's inability to see your value. If this story resonated with you, please like and subscribe. I share new stories every week about standing up for yourself with grace and dignity. Where are you watching from? Let me know below.